Andrew, congratulations on the extraordinary thing that you've achieved so far. Just tell me, first of all, what it is about the two charities, about Carers Trust and the Lads and Girls Club in Bolton, that are so important to you, that made you want to undertake this?
Well, yeah, thanks, Angela. Good morning. Yeah, we've supported those two charities for a very long time in the businesses that I was previously involved in, and I finished work last March. And I really decided that I really wanted to try and continue to help the two charities in any way that I could, and they both run fantastic programs for young carers. So and it's the young carers really that we're really trying to raise awareness for and raise some money for. So I want to try and do that with pushing myself with a reasonable challenge.
Well, reasonable challenge, crikey. You're going to cycle something in the region of 11 to 12,000 miles, something like 14, 15,000 kilometers by the time you've finished. What made you decide on doing a bike ride, for goodness sake? And from Manchester to Melbourne?
Yeah, well, the moments of madness, I think, looking back now, in fairness. Yeah, I mean, I've always been quite active. I've always been quite sporty, and but I've had a lot of problems with my knees over the years, and I've found over the last few years that the only thing that really does affect it is cycling. So cycling is quite a way for me for keeping fit. So it was really one of those, looking at that and thinking, well, one of the few things actively that I can do. I've got two sons that live in Melbourne, and I've got a granddaughter in Melbourne. So I thought one day I'll have a bike ride and go and see them and try and raise some money and awareness for young carers in the process.
Yeah, most people would just fly there, let's face it.
Yeah,
so you decided on the bike ride. How did you get into training for this?
Well, it's, I have been asked that question before, Angela, and in fairness, I probably, on reflection, didn't do it as enough as I should have really been doing. Prior to setting off, I was probably doing about 3 rides a week. I was doing about 50 kilometres a ride. So, in all honesty, about 150 kilometres a week, where I'm riding at the moment about 600 kilometres a week. But I feel in all honesty, you can probably ride yourself fit. During the course of a journey that I'm on, it's endurance. It's over many months. So I found that hasn't really been too much of a problem. I think the biggest problem is not to put too fine points on it. It's your rear. It's your saddle time. You really need to spend quite a bit of time in the saddle because you can get a little bit sore.
So how are the knees and the rear end standing up to this?
Oh, they're doing fine at the moment. As I say, I've got a memory foam seat, and it's looking a little bit like me at the moment. Its memory's going and a bit worn out.
Okay, now let's talk about the journey itself, because you've gone through, I think, 18 countries and 14 time zones already. Now, that must have taken one heck of a lot of planning. How did you plan this trip?
That's again. I think the cycling is the easy part. I mean, the actual planning took about 6 months beforehand, and with the help of the great team at Carers Trust and at Bolton Lads and Girls Club, many meetings. From a logistics side, also looking at it from our social media side and raising awareness. So it's been a full-time job. From when I left my job in March, it really has been. I mean, and for a couple of months before that, in fairness, it really has been a full-time job to look at logistics. And I think sometimes you might be. I think we were guilty of probably over planning it. I think we need to have more of a macro plan as opposed to the micro plan that we tried to do. But it's all worked out really well. So we're very pleased with some of the planning that we've got. But of course, there's always challenges the stuff that comes out of left field that you can never legislate for.
Well, let's talk about some of those left field incidents, because I'm sure that it hasn't all gone according to plan. There must have been highs and lows, some great moments and some terrifying moments. Talk us through some of the adventures that you've had.
Well, I mean, yeah, we've had all those, that whole gambit. We've had all those things. We've had some fantastic times. We've had some pretty low times. I think cycling very physically very demanding, mentally very demanding. I think the most physical and mentally demanding moments were certainly in the desert. So we cycled through to the border in Iran, with the Turkish-Iran border, but we couldn't go through Iran. There's some issues there at the moment where we were strongly advised not to go through Iran. That was part of the plan. So very last moment, that was a challenge where we had to redirect and come south of the Persian Gulf through Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, and we were just hitting absolute straight roads in nothing but sand, nothing to see, no shade, 38-degree heats into headwinds, and that for me was not only very physically demanding but mentally. 5 hours a day, just with the respite of any shade whatsoever. That was a challenging moment, for sure. I think physically some of the mountains we've had to climb through, 7,000-foot climbs in Turkey, for example, and 5,000-foot climbs in India, all for an old guy like me, quite demanding, quite challenging. But again, it's all part of the fun, and for me, we look at these things as challenges, and we were never going to get there without sort of the problems. So we've had issues with bikes, we've had issues getting across borders, which has been really difficult. And of course, you're never going to get across without falling off a few times. And I had a particularly nasty tumble last month in beginning of December in India, and I ended up with quite a few cuts, bruises, and split my eye and sprained wrists and stuff. But yeah, it was so there's been some good, there's been some highs, there's been some lows, but overall it's all been part of an amazing journey, an amazing challenge, and I've got to say I've loved every minute.
You've mentioned there all of those adventures, but what about the people? Never mind the landscape, which in itself has clearly been a challenge. You've gone through countries, in Europe, where people would expect to see somebody on a bicycle doing something. But I'm sure some of the countries, perhaps, where you've been in Asia, in the Middle East, it has been rather different. What sort of reaction have you got from people as you've been cycling through their countries?
And I did wonder this myself prior to going. There's been no fears. I've been absolutely welcomed in every country. They've been so kind. Some people, when you look at the Middle East, I was stopped almost daily by the local police in Saudi Arabia, asking really what I was doing. And when it was explained to them what I was doing, they were giving me police escorts, giving me numbers in case I got any problems. They couldn't do enough. And the same in India. I was stopped probably 3 or 4 times a day by locals just wanting selfies and asking me to go to the house to have tea and breakfast, because we all went out early morning. And so, I've got to say, if ever you need a sort of like a reminder of just how kind, human kindness is, it's, I've seen it. I've seen it in every single country. I've been very, very fortunate. So I've restored my faith in human kindness. I can't say. And I have been unusual. I have caused quite a bit of a stir through some of these towns and villages. But like I say, I've been met with nothing but kindness, and for that I've been really grateful.
Kindness and probably a bit of, is this man crazy? Have you had that reaction too?
Yeah, all the time. And I ask myself the same thing, Angela, all the time.
Now, you keep saying we, because of course you're not doing this on your own. You've got a wonderful support team with you, haven't you? Tell me about how the team is working.
So my main support guy, my wingman, is a guy called John Mills, or also known as Millsy to everybody on the team, and he's been with me for most of the journey. So he's been kind of driving the support vehicle, and he's been my mechanic and fixer, and so he's been invaluable. I've got back at the office in the UK and organising lots of things for us, flights and visas and all sorts of things. Is Marcia Rock, who's been great, and as is the team at Carers and at Bolton Lads and Girls Club. But also, I've also been very fortunate to have a number of friends and colleagues who have come out on different aspects of the journey, including my son, who's never really rode a bike very much, but he actually came from Vienna to Budapest, again, just to raise as much awareness amongst his friends and his peers as he possibly can. So I've been very lucky with a number of people who've spent their own money to come out and ride along and support the cause. I think the biggest thank you, though, in fairness, I've got to say to my wife, because one, she's been very, well, she's still my wife, I think. So I hope she is when I get back in April. And I'd understand it if she wasn't, but she's been very, very supportive. And she's also been my biggest fan and groupie, Angela. So she's flown out to various locations, following me around the world, having a few days, providing me with big and much needed morale booster, when I'm needing it. So she's been fantastic. So I'll give a big shout out to my wife.
Oh, it sounds like a great team. I mean, you said 5 hours cycling, and presumably in each country, what you are facing in terms of terrain and climate is quite different. But give us, if you can, an idea of what the typical day on the road is like. When do you start? How do you eat? How is it planned? Just talk us through a day so that we can get this picture of what you do from when you get up in the morning until you fall, presumably exhausted, into bed at night.
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of the countries we've been to, we've only seen 6 days rain in the last 177. Because we had the heat wave, of course, in August last year, down through Europe. And then, of course, we were in Turkey. We saw some cold weather in eastern Turkey because it was the end of October to start with, and then through the Middle East. So most of it has been very hot. So what we do, we're up for normally 5:15 a.m. Normally, if we're staying in some local, local hotels, the breakfast is on then. So we try and get out 6:30 a.m. so we can benefit from the cool mornings. And then, we're typically doing about 100 to 120 kilometres a day. So what we'll try and do, the heavy lifting, as it were, the first 50 to 60 kilometres before, as we usually set off and before we have a break. Then we'll have a tea break for 15, 20 minutes just to stretch our backs and our legs. If anybody's riding along, a lot of times it's just on my own. And then what we'll do is set off again. We try and we notch it down a little bit. So the next ride will be 30 kilometres, and then we'll break for breakfast around 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then we'll do the final 20, 30 kilometres. So we're trying to get finished typically around 12:30, 1 o'clock. If we've arranged accommodation, we'll head to the accommodation. If not, we try to find accommodation. And then, of course, in the afternoons, by the time you've got washed, checked in, showered, we never unpack the bags. They're only in there for overnight. We then look at our social media, calls home, our hand washing. We have to hand wash all our stuff. And then you look for something to eat at night, and invariably 7:30, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you're heading back to your room for looking for bedding down for the night. So they're pretty full days. I mean, and pretty tiring when you get to night. And I think the problem is with me, I've never been a great sleeper. Different beds every single night, so sometimes your sleep gets interrupted as well. So you're snatching a few minutes wherever you possibly can. So it's tough, but like I say, all part of the challenge, and I'm really enjoying it.
And you're meticulous, aren't you, about starting the following morning at exactly the same point on the bicycle that you finished the day before?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, sometimes we can't literally cycle straight to a hotel or to the accommodation. So we have to stop in we're in the desert. We could be 70 kilometres from a local hotel. So we'd stop. We'd luckily have got the support vehicle. We'd go and find accommodation, but we would be absolutely back on exactly the same spot the following day to continue riding every kilometre we can. There's a couple of cities, in fairness, where we've had to stop just on the outskirts of the city because literally we haven't got cycleways or lanes, and it's just motorways into for example, Istanbul and Abu Dhabi. So we go as far as we possibly can and try and start as near to the city as we possibly can the following day.
Yeah. Now, you're in Cairns, that's Northern Australia, which is where you're talking to me from at the moment. And this is the longest individual length that you're going to do in the journey, isn't it? It's the single biggest country that you're actually going through. Just tell me what the route is going to be and what's happening from now until when you finish on, March the 25th, I think.
Yeah. So we arrived yesterday. We've got today and tomorrow we're putting bikes together and getting all our kit together. Unfortunately, a key piece of equipment, our toolbox and our spares, has got lost. between Bali and Australia. So at the moment, we're spending time trying to. It's essential as well that we find it. We've got all our kit in there and shoes and everything. So yeah, so we're hoping to track that down before Saturday when we're due to set off. But then what we're going to do is we're going to be following the coast, literally from the northeast of Australia. We're going to follow the coast right the way down to Melbourne. So we're about 4,000 kilometres to do, yeah, we're due to finish, we hope, on the 25th of March at Melbourne Cricket Ground. That's at the moment where we feel it's going to finish.
Tell me a bit about the bike, because I'm sure there are people watching this who are cyclists who will say, you know, what kind of a machine is he actually using here?
Yeah, we've a couple of bikes. We've got a gravel bike, and we've got I just noticed now road bike. They're very, very similar in fairness, but they've just got different thickness of tyres. So the gravel bikes are probably a little bit more comfortable to ride on over distances. But I say we've got a Specialized SL4, so I'm using as a road bike. So yeah, but in terms of adaptations, I've not really made many adaptations to them. But the only thing that I have done on each bike, and I've got a spare, is a leather saddle. It's an old fashioned designed leather saddle that goes back 100 years, and you look at all the technology in terms of saddle technology now, well, these are renowned for being just the best touring saddles, because as the leather, they're like a pair of shoes you kind of like wear to your body shape, so they become very comfortable after a couple of hundred kilometres. So I swear by them.
Now, when you get to the cricket ground in Melbourne, what sort of celebration have you got planned?
Well, you know, I've left that route to my sons, so we've got a lot of family. In fairness, we've hooked up with the bicycle network here in Australia, so I think that last leg we're going to have quite a few riders coming along with us as well. So we're hoping for a little bit of a celebration, obviously when we end. And I'm sure there'll be a couple of beers at the end as well. But I'm really looking forward to it. But in all honesty, from a celebration point of view, once we've done that, a family barbecue and a glass of wine, and spend some time with my 20-month-old granddaughter, I'll be more than happy.
Tell me why it is important to support young carers in particular.
Well, I think, you know, I don't think people realise just how many young carers we have in the country. We think there's about 800,000 young carers in the United Kingdom, and the average age of those young carers is 12 years old, and a lot of them, are disadvantaged when it comes to education. Comes to their job prospects, to training, to the social lives that they sacrifice, and I just don't think it can be right that they fall out of the care system because they're minors. The care system is overlooking them, and I just don't think that can be right. So what we're really trying to do is that through the great work of Carers Trust and Bolton Lads and Girls Club, we're just not only trying to raise money so we can help with their education, so we can help with training, so we can help with respite care, so they can have a normal social life with kids their own age, so we can set up support groups. So it's just to really help these these kids with their education, with with training. They really are disadvantaged in the system, and I think they fall out of the care system, the minors at the end of the day, and so from our point of view, they're very much overlooked, and if we can raise money to help them, if we can also turn the spotlight on them and raise awareness amongst as many people as we can of what an amazing job that they do willingly and selflessly, all grist to the mill. So it's important for us, and I really do feel that the programmes run by Carers Trust and Bolton Lads and Girls Club, reaching out to these young carers, is amazing. It's from a programme point of view, I'm more than happy to continue to support it for as long as I possibly can.
You talk so passionately about the young carers, Andrew. Have you had personal experience yourself of care or of meeting these young people and actually seeing what they're doing?
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time and met a number of young carers and talked to them about the lives, and like I say, the thing that comes across to me is that they do this absolutely willingly, absolutely selflessly, and there's no question of them not providing that care to the loved ones, and I say that the thing for me that strikes me is, as I was saying before, is that they just seem to miss the care system, miss the support that they badly need, and anything that we can possibly do to help them, I think is a good thing, is a huge thing. And I think, like I said, I just really do want to turn the spotlights on them and let people really understand what amazing kids these actually are. I mean, as with all carers, carers they are fortunate enough to be able to walk away, but they don't. Carers of all ages don't walk away, and I think that what they give to their loved ones is amazing. So that's why I've been involved with carers for so many years, and particularly want to promote young carers where I can.
When you cross that finishing line in Melbourne, how will you personally feel, do you think?
Wow. I've never been asked that question, in all honesty, and I probably think about it on the bike now and now and again. I think it'll be mixed emotions. I really do. I think it'll be euphoria that actually we've actually completed the task that we set and the challenge we set. I think it would be relief as well. I think, after day in, day out, riding the bike, I think that would probably be a relief. But I also think there'd be sadness as well. I mean, I think when I look back now at the amazing people that I've met, the countries, the culture, the landscape, the food, the kindness, just the great laughs that we've had. It's just, I look back and say so fondly and be quite sad that journey's actually now come to an end. So real mixed emotions, but yeah, I'll be looking forward to it.
I bet you will. And will you perhaps, when you get, I mean, obviously you're going to spend time with your family when you're in Australia. When you finally get back to Britain, will you be itching to do something else? I mean, this has been an epic journey that you've made. It is, in every way, it is gargantuan. The travel, the miles you've gone, the hours you put into it, the money that you're raising, the time that it's taking. Will you be itching to do something else, do you think? Another challenge?
I've loved it. I think I'm going to be a little bit careful with my answer here. I think I definitely won't have a wife. If I ask her, can I do another 8-9 month challenge? So my answer would be no at this moment in time, but a diplomatic no, in case she ever watches this interview back.
Well, I just think that you are an absolute superman for what you have done. And I know Carers Trust and the Lads and Girls Club are just so grateful for what you are doing. Thank you so much, Andrew, and good luck on the next leg of your journey.
It's a pleasure, and thank you very much.